This is the RV Advisor Podcast with your host, Tom Alexander. Get all the latest information, trends, advice from experts, stories from the road, and more in the world of recreational vehicles. Now, here's Tom.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the RV Advisor Podcast. I'm Tom Alexander, and I'm joined by one of our returning champions. It is Demian Ross. Demian was on with us just about 2 months ago to the day. Demian, how are you? How you feeling? How's everyone in your orbit, as we ask everybody?
Yeah, you know what? It's been a weird 2 months for sure. Probably the weirdest 2 months in my adult life by far. I think for everyone. I think that's the one thing I've been hearing a lot is, we're all in the same storm, but a lot of us are in different boats. That's for sure. But we just have to remember we're in the same storm, trying to figure this out like everyone else.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It has been a trip, that's for sure. You were on March 19th, so that's just about 2 months ago, and this thing was just getting started. I mean, we'd obviously knew a lot, we heard a lot about it, but it hadn't really, it was just beginning to really take root here in the States in terms of everything shutting down and a new normal, or a temporary normal, or a strange normal, or however you want to phrase it. And I think it was right around now 2 months ago when like the NBA shut it down, and we're hearing about baseball shutting it down and all that stuff, and of course we're living it now, and it's weird. But Rootless Living is your site and your use and everything. It's kind of like you're out there living the dream, the RV dream. You're in Texas right now, and I know you, under normal circumstances, you get around, but tell us about where you are at this moment.
Yeah, so when I spoke to you 2 months ago, I basically stayed at the same spot until May 15th. I was at 1,000 Trails. For those of you listening to know what 1,000 Trails is, it's basically like a timeshare. And I have a plan that allows me to go to any of the 1,000 Trails in my zones for 2 weeks on, and then I have to leave the facility for a week, and then I can come back. And obviously when they started doing shutdowns, 1,000 Trails was great, where they said, hey, look, we can't kick you out and you have nowhere to go, so you get to stay there. So I got to stay until May 15th, basically on them, which was really nice because I didn't really want to drive around in that. Now that Texas is kind of basically back open, to the most part, we drove about 5 hours south to Boondock here at Magnolia Beach, Texas. It's been really light. There hasn't been a lot of people, but yesterday was pretty packed. It was the first time there was some decent weather on a weekend, and we will leave here on Thursday before the big holiday weekend. We'll get out of here and head back to 1,000 Trails and stay there for 2 weeks and continue to try to figure out where we can go. Yeah.
And you said, we were speaking briefly off there, you said you're just a few feet away from the water, right? You could see the ocean and you're all set.
Oh yeah. So here's what's really funny about Magnolia Beach is I was here a year ago, and I pulled in just parallel with the ocean. And they basically came and said, I'm sorry, you have to back in now. The back of the rig has to face the ocean because of crowds. And I was like, the only rig on the beach. And I remember looking around and being like, hey, there's no one here. And they're like, yeah, it's a new ordinance because it gets really crowded like 4th of July. And I was like, it's May, 4th of July. Like, I get it for holiday weekends, but it's just, it's a funny thing. So we're backed in. I mean, literally I'm 8 feet from the Gulf, the bay kind of area. I know I call it an ocean, and every once in a while people, that's not the ocean, that's a Gulf. Hey, look, it's salt water. It's the ocean.
It's salt water, and you can't see the other side. It's either an ocean or a Great Lake, right? Well, Great Lakes aren't salt, but anyway, you take my point. It looks like the ocean. We'll call it the ocean, right?
I agree with you. When I was at the Great Lakes as a California kid, when I was on sand and could not see the other side, I kept referring it to an ocean. And I had people, it's not an ocean. And I agree with you that, look, if I can't see the other side, that's too big to be a lake. Most lakes I can swim across.
Yeah, right. Of course. Well, it's funny because I guess they call them the inland seas or the freshwater seas. And they are amazing. I mean, I'm a big Great Lakes fan. I took me forever to finally see one in my lifetime, but I finally went, and it's like, yeah, this is cool, And I remember one time walking along the shore in Chicago and getting just drenched, man. The waves were coming in. I was kind of walking on a stone wall there, And man, it was coming in, and I'm glad I wasn't wearing a suit or something, would have been completely ruined.
There you go.
But well, good. You're kind of holed up in an area that's a pleasant view and nice to see, and that's the great thing about RV living from everybody I speak with. It's like you can change your scenery as often as you like.
Yeah, I think, here it's pretty warm here, and I usually don't like to run the generator when I'm boondocking, and I always laugh at myself because I can go wherever I want to in regards to the weather. I can look around and see what's 75 and head that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like in any lifestyle, there's ups and downs. Like you can't escape it. I feel like our downs, like the RV life downs, are kind of like really above first world downs. You know what I mean? Like when I ask people on my show, like, what's your high low in the lifestyle? The low always is like a flat tire or the rig breaking down. When you ask someone that lives in a bricks and sticks, what's your low? They're never talking about their plumbing issues. You know what I mean? That's not their low in life.
Yeah.
And I always find that kind of funny that our problem's like, oh, my site's not level. Ugh, my life's terrible. It's that kind of a thing. So it has a difference. Yeah.
It is different. It is different. It's as the saying goes, it's all depending on where you're standing, in the country maybe, or wherever, you have a different set of problems or issues, I guess we'll say. We're speaking with Demian Ross. He's from Rootless Living. We're going to find out a lot more about Rootless Living itself and how you can find Demian and also listen to his podcast and a whole lot more. That's coming up in just a moment. We're going to take a short break. This is the RV Advisor Podcast. I'm Tom Alexander, and we'll talk to you in just a second.
RV owners, it's no secret that those manufacturers' warranties just don't cut it. Get the peace of mind you deserve and step up to the RV Advisor Extended Warranty Plan. Visit thervadvisor.com or call 833-229-0911. That's 833-229-0911.
We are back on the RV Advisor Podcast. I'm Tom Alexander. My guest is Demian Ross from Rootless Living. And Rootless Living, how long has Rootless Living been around now, Demian?
I literally thought of the idea in 2018, but I was working for someone at the time. And it goes back to basically in 2016 when I was doing research for going full-time and being a magazine guy and made magazines in the past as of my living. I thought, let me find like a full-time RVers kind of magazine, and there was nothing. And, I couldn't do it then. I hadn't even started. What would I talk about? My ideas of what this lifestyle is going to look like. And so, 2017 full-time on the road, 2018 full-time on the road, get laid off. 2019, I really start thinking about, I want to start putting the word out about like Rootless Living and the idea of this. And then in 2020 was our first issue. We launched a like in-print digital publication. We're on issue 3 right now. The plan is to do 6 in 2020. Our last issue was like everything about boondocking, and I don't know if people are going to be able to see the visual, but I brought props. Yeah.
Well, there you go, man. Yeah. Hold that up again so our viewers can check it out.
Yeah.
There it is.
That was issue 3. Mm-hmm. This was 2, all about RV entrepreneurs, and then issue 1 was really just welcome to the lifestyle and having an understanding of the magazine. And again, it's a free digital publication. People can grab it for free. I really wanted to do a digital just because of the nomadic lifestyle. It made sense. I mean, I still subscribe to magazines. Yeah. I just get them 2 or 3 months later than most because I wait till my mail bulks up and then I have my mail sent to me.
Gotcha.
We're not doing any like breaking news in the publication. It's pretty much evergreen. And that's one of the things I found very interesting that I did not know, even though I've published print publications in the past, was when someone signs up, let's say today, they will go back and download all 3 issues. And normally when you subscribe to Sports Illustrated, you're only getting, it'll be 8 weeks till you get your first issue. You're not getting the back issues. So that's really cool about the digital is that when we launched issue 1, we only had 2,500 subscribers, and that's what issue 1 went out to, 2,500 people.
Huh.
Issue 1 has been downloaded almost like 11,000 times now, because everyone that's signed up since has gone back and read it, which is really
Right.
cool. And again, it's free right now. It's free. And I'll say that if anyone's listening and you sign up, it's lifetime free for digital. We're probably going to end that at the end of this year and then go to 1 year free. And then, you know, after people like it, they can decide if they want to pay a small fee to just kind of help keep it going. But if you want it in print, you can purchase that, but it's free in digital.
That's great. And also, as we were chatting earlier, you know, you have a podcast as well. And tell folks about that and where they can hear it and how frequent it is and all that.
Yeah, so right now, Rootless Living podcast is on basically, you pick your favorite player, it's there. I mean, we all know that iTunes is the big player still in this area,
Right.
but it's there as well. Basically, every Monday, I launch a new episode where I just interview someone that's living kind of the nomadic lifestyle. Now, Rootless, for a lot of people, I didn't want to call it Fulltime RVer, because there's a lot of people that I've had on the show that necessarily don't own a home or have a home base, but still traveling and being very nomadic. I have people that own a home and then own a rig, and they do it 50-50. They do it part-time. It just really means that you're free. You're not stuck, and you get to decide what that looks like. I realized after spending 40 years of my life in Southern California, once I got out, I was like, wait, I don't feel this like stuck anxiety that I was feeling. It was just something different that I didn't even know existed until you get away from it.
Mm-hmm.
And so each week I just interview people, all different shapes and sizes and backgrounds and ages and just everything. And really, I don't focus so much on the lifestyle, because the lifestyle is like any other lifestyle. You're not just going to interview people that own a bricks and sticks. You know, there's a lot of people that do that. It's where they came from and what they had to do to pivot to be able to live this lifestyle. That's an interesting story.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm still learning stuff. Like, even though I've been on the road 3 years, it wasn't until I interviewed a couple that still had a Monday through Friday 9 to 5, and they're living full time in an RV. And what I was surprised was how easy it was for them Friday at 5 to wheels up and go.
Yeah.
Because, you know, there's a lot of people that own a home and an RV. The time that it takes to take the stuff from your home and put it into the RV for the weekend and then go, and then you come back on Sunday and then you have to repeat the process,
Right.
takes a lot of the time up. And over time, people stop going on these ventures.
Yeah.
When you live in your RV and you're still working Monday through Friday and you have to go to work like everybody else, but Friday, 4 p.m., wheels up, you head out, you do a nice little weekend, you come back on a Sunday, there's no packing, unpacking.
Yeah.
And I didn't even really think through that until I interviewed someone that's their lifestyle. That's what they're doing until they retire. And then they'll just be full time.
We have encountered those kinds of folks on our show. And, you know, it always amazes me. I have to admit, I'm not crazy about the old saying, set in your ways, but I would say that I'm used to and kind of somewhat comfortable living here in brick and mortar kind of thing, or bricks and sticks, as you say. And, you know, I certainly like the idea of part-time RVing and getting and spending some time, you know, certainly more than a week, but, you know, getting out there and really kind of having the RV. And I love that idea. But to commit to it full time is you know, it's a dramatic shift. And it's, you know, there are, like you said, it's a different set of issues that you have to deal with. Certain things become more important than others, things that in your previous life in a home, you know, you may not have ever thought of, and vice versa. Right. So yeah. It's something that, you know, not saying that I would never do it, but I just feel like plus a lot of the work I do, which is with a lot of other people in the area and doing music stuff and all kinds of stuff, it'd probably be a little harder for me in that environment. But man, hats off to people who are able to make that transition. It's really fascinating to me. And the story, you know, it always seems to, Demian, is the stories are always really unique.
Oh yeah.
You know, they're really unique. There's you know, because you nailed it. I mean, it's like, it's all walks of life. It's not, you know, you may have a perception of like, you know, oh, the sort of well-to-do retiree couple. Sure, that's part of it, but it's definitely not the only you know, there are multiple demographics, you know, just runs the gamut of all kinds of folks, and some really incredible stories.
Yeah, I think it's funny that a lot of them, there's some similarities though, especially, you know, I think I've interviewed maybe 30 people. We've only had 30 episodes. And one is there's a lot of non-RV experience prior to going, just like me. I'd never camped in an RV, used an RV. My first RV is the one I'm sitting in right now. Like probably the first RV I ever really hung out in is the RV I'm in now.
Yeah.
The really small amount of planning too. I would think, you know, I got the idea in October of 2016 and we left June of 2017. So not a lot of time. And again, I wasn't selling property at that point. I was renting. So there were some things that made it a little easier for me. But that's what I start noticing too, is there's not a lot of experience and there's not a lot of planning, and people make the shift. I will say that for me, remember, it was just a 1-year plan. I wanted to find out where I wanted to live outside of California. I didn't know this lifestyle existed. I wasn't influenced by Instagram or YouTubers. I just didn't know that people did this full time. I actually thought I invented it. And then you get online, you're like, oh, shoot. Well, there's so many people are doing it. That's where I went to that moment. If so many people are doing it, there should be a magazine about it, blah, blah, blah.
Absolutely, yeah.
I still feel like I want to do this for a long time, but the idea of having a home base, and whether that's just a piece of property with RV hookups or maybe a little barn where you can just come back, because I will say the 2 months that I spent in one location, one, you get fired up to travel again. Two, you get into a little bit of a routine. And in the first year, we traveled a lot, like 17 states in 17 weeks, like just bananas type traveling. And a lot of that was to do with who I was working for at the time. Where now I'm enjoying the longer stays, getting to know the community,
right,
meeting people and that kind of stuff. And so for me, the idea of a home base at some point, but here's something I just wanted to say that's just maybe a little off topic, but I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like I wish I would have done this really early, like maybe outside of high school, because what I learned really quick was that the things that I thought I needed to be successful, the big home, multiple cars, all this kind of stuff, this lifestyle changes that. You really start to look at like, how often am I wearing this shirt? Because if I'm not wearing it that often, I'm going to get rid of it. You really get rid of things because of weight and space.
Yeah.
And I think if you can program yourself kind of early, it really helps you, because I was that guy. I wanted you to look at me and look at my things and be jealous of the car I was driving, the house I was in.
Yeah.
And now I mean, not that I want you to be jealous of my experiences. I just want you to be inspired that there's more than the things, you know what I mean? And I feel like at that age, especially 18 to 20, most people are goofing off in college. If they're going there, they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
It'd be cool if there was just a way for young kind of America to get out on the road for a couple years, experience stuff outside of your town, and learn to like really live within your means and with a lot less.
Yeah, no, that's wow, what a great perspective, because that really is, you don't have really that perspective in most cases. Exactly what you said. It's like, okay, you're in your town, you kind of do what you're sort of maybe expected to do or whatever, and how this changes everything. And it's less material and maybe even more spiritual, or it's a journey.
Yeah.
And I think what happens is that, you probably learn a lot more about yourself, other people, other places, as you take these journeys, because you're seeing so much. And as Americans, I think, particularly, there was that mindset in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, well, let's see what's over in Europe and Asia and here and there. And that's great. I love travel. I love to go different places and learn different cultures and experience all that. But man, there is so much here in the United States to see, and to see it at a ground level, literally.
Yep.
Instead of flying over a bunch of states to get to another state, here you are, in a home on wheels, and you're really experiencing it, on the ground. And it's got to be, I am inspired. Maybe I'm a little jealous, but no, I will say that I'm inspired by that. It's something I want to do. I'm reminded of my father, who Yeah, he's been gone a long time, but I remember he would always say when I was a kid, I can remember him saying he'd see a Winnebago go past us on the highway. He said, "Gosh, I'd love to do that someday. I'd love to drive across the country in a Winnebago and see everything." And we never got to do that as a family, unfortunately. But I'd like to live that for him, at some point.
Yep.
I'd like to get out there and do it and experience it, because I think it really is special.
As a father with 4 kids, and I was, a solo dad raising all 4, they all lived with me. I had custody of them after my divorce, and I never did these camping kind of experience. It just wasn't in my background. I was a city kid all the way through. If we went camping, we went and stayed at a motel on the sand. You know what I mean? Like, it was that kind of a thing.
Of course.
I have a little bit of regret in that. And now that I'm out on the road and seeing it, I've flown the kids out to be at different places with me, and so they can experience it, and trying to get them to realize there's more.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to go back to what you said about Europe. I really feel like I've done a lot of Europe travel too, way before I did any state traveling. And I almost want to encourage people. One is, you can't believe what's in your own state. If you really just got out and did a road trip and did some Airbnbs and do some funky motels, there's amazing stuff in your own state. Yeah. And maybe really try to explore 10 states before you do anything international, especially in and around kind of this pandemic and how people are. I don't know where you fall on the spectrum as a listener, but I'll tell you right now, I really feel like the RV industry is about to blow up, because you have your own bathroom, you have your own kitchen, you can go kind of where you want to. If you still feel like you need the social distance, you can do it in a way that you can't in any other kind of travel. I know for myself, I don't usually get kind of heebie-weegie about stuff, but it's going to be a while before I fly. That's for sure. Like, that's for me. You guys do whatever you want to do, but for me, and really at 6'7", flying's not that much fun anyways.
Are you really?
Not.
I had no idea you were 6'7".
Yeah, 6'6".
I could tell by you sitting down that you're taller than me, but of course that's most of the free world is taller than I am. But 6'7", wow, that is.
Yeah, and a lot of people are like, tall people can't RV. That's not true. You just have to get a fifth wheel. You just can't get a Class A unless you spend $1 million. But you can get a nice $50,000-$60,000 fifth wheel, and you'll be fine. Now,
who is are you the lone tall person in your family, or do you come from both?
No, yeah. So I've got parents that are both right around 6'3", 6'4".
Oh wow!
My mom is 6'3", which was pretty incredible growing up. Yeah. All my 3 uncles on my mom's side were taller than her, so we had anywhere from 6'4" to about 6'7". I have a 6'5" and a 6, almost 9 son. Both are done with sports. Both are, it's over. And, it's funny. I did this manifesto thing like recently on Facebook. And one of the things that got a lot of people like, I'm not angry or triggered, is I said they need to stop having youth sports be year round, one. And they need to say where there is no. And a lot of people are like, well, why?
You know what? For me, can you repeat that? You broke up right in that last sentence.
That youth sports do not need to be year round, and there should be no youth sports in July, the month of July. Just shut down sports. And the idea was that, I had a son that was a really good basketball player, and there was a lot of AAU stuff that happened in July. So the rest of my kids, it was like he needed to be in that, to get to where he wanted to go. Yeah. And I guess as a parent, I could have pulled him out and we could have done some sort of vacation. I get that. But there's always something going on for some kid. And when I was growing up, the only time you played baseball was baseball season, maybe a camp in the summer. It wasn't 12 months out of the year at that age. And it's just gotten insane that I think it's actually really stopped a lot of family vacations, because the summer you're supposed to be off, except for football. You came back for Hell Week a couple weeks before school started, and that was it. Maybe a little summer basketball league for 2 or 3 weeks, but it's just big money now. And that was my manifesto, where it was like, we're tearing the family away for sports. And I get it. As a parent, you can pull back and say, but if for whatever reason, your kid doesn't go to the next level, and it's going to be because, remember, Dad, we took that July off in 2015 and it messed up my career. I just don't know why as a society, we just don't say family first and figure out ways that help families.
Yeah. Well, that would be a nice change of pace. I mean, it was certainly like that when I was growing up. I mean, but I have family, cousins and nephews and everything. And they played travel ball, and they played ball through this, the summer. And And it was, yeah, they did not have a lot of time to do family stuff. The family stuff was the family going on the road with them to the next town to play baseball. So
Right.
it was like, wow, okay,
And I get that I'm kind of an oddball in that. Like the same thing here. I'm here till Thursday. Friday is the Friday before Memorial Day weekend at this. I want to leave here. People say, oh, yeah, because it's going to be the crowds. No, I want to remove my full-time RV and allow the weekender to come and have a spot.
Yeah.
I think as a full-timer, I get to do this year round.
Right.
I don't need to take up a spot in one of the hot spots for a weekender during a weekend holiday where literally they could show up and there might not be a spot for them. But here I am as a full-time. Again, this is for me. If full-timers are listening, like, I love to go to the beach at 4th of July. You do you. I'm just saying for me, I'll go to the RV park and I'll let the weekenders come in and spend the 4-day weekend that they have to be here with their family and friends and make it not as crowded. But I am the guy that'll tell you, I love state parks Sunday to Thursday. Yeah. Ain't nobody there. They're amazing. Yeah. And I leave, and then people can come Friday, Saturday, Sunday that want to use it for the weekend.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, it was almost analogous to the fact that the old ball player that stays on too long and takes up a roster spot for the guy that's supposed to come up. Since we're talking baseball and other sports, which hopefully we'll start to see slowly, maybe a return to that. We don't know. I'm hearing maybe a few rumors of baseball coming back in July, half a season. Who knows? It sounds like you're a sports fan. I certainly am, and I miss it. I miss that, but we're all, having to adjust to all this, craziness that's going on right now. But we're all learning. I've been having this conversation with a lot of people, not only guests on the show, but just in general. And what's the takeaway? What is the one takeaway? What have you learned? And I'll ask you that. What have you learned? Something that you've benefited from, something that has given you pause to sort of say, hey, you know what? I need to maybe think about doing this more.
Yeah, wash my hands for sure. That's the first thing. I didn't realize we weren't washing our hands enough. I think the lifestyle that I have now, if I was back in Los Angeles living there, I'd be in real financial trouble right now. I really would be, with everything shutting down. There wasn't the ability to kind of be able to make some changes that would allow me to survive this. And I don't want to say that I'm recession proof or economic proof in any way, but even the magazine growth has been really great, even and around through this. Now, obviously the manufacturers and stuff like that, they're kind of, slowing things down as they figure it out. But for the most part, I put myself in a situation that I can make changes. And I'm not just talking about if there's another pandemic, because I don't think there will be. Hopefully there never will be. But it's just that it allows me the freedom to move and do things I just never knew I could do. And I think the other thing that I kind of walked away from seeing it, and it's kind of a negative, is that we still are very much a selfish, entitled, it's really the me type stuff. Like when someone says, I want a haircut, I'm thinking, is it okay for the person cutting hair? Do they want to come back? As opposed to, do I really need to do something with this crazy hair right now? That kind of stuff. And it's just, I want to think about the other person before I think about myself. And we really weren't taught that we were taught that kind of growing up, but we've kind of lost that. It's very much a me attitude. And I want to fight for the person if the person wants to be fought for. And I think that's what we're not listening to. Does this person want to be fought for? And if they do, then let's fight for them. And let's say, hey, with the right precautions, we can open back up. But as I'm out here, I'm still like, I didn't realize I was such kind of a germaphobe. I wasn't before. Is this how Howie Mandel feels all the time?
Yeah.
Like, is he just walking around like this all the time?
Yeah.
Right. I think I also learned that we don't know how to use gloves right. We don't know how to use masks right. Like we don't know what we're doing. It's just one of those things, no matter how much, you get taught and stuff. But ultimately, I'm really glad I'm in this lifestyle. I know for a lot of people in this lifestyle, there were problems. They rely on state parks. They rely on BLM, government assisted, basically, in a way, is what you can look at those. And as a full-timer, that can be tough. And I know a lot of people got stuck in areas they didn't want to be, and it was tough. But ultimately, I think in and around a situation like this is the best place to be, is in an RV. I think you really can control a lot more than you can in bricks and sticks. That's for sure.
Yeah, it sure sounds it, and that seems to be a recurring theme I've heard from a lot of full timers, that the space is smaller and the control is more manageable. But
I think too, though, that, some of the downside I saw were where people were really upset with state parks being closed and, BLM land not being available. And, for me, it's state parks aren't for full timers. That's not why they made a state park or a national park. They didn't make it so you could live in it full time a year.
right.
And most, you can't stay more than 14 days anyways. There are some state parks where you can do monthly. I get it. But for me, it was, when you think of Moab that has 17 hospital beds and has all these visitors, and when they said, that's it, all visitors need to leave, there were people that were really pissed off. And I'm like, they're trying to protect their community. We're a visitor. We're a guest.
Yeah.
If there's a fire in your house, you're asking the guests to leave. You know what I mean? You're just saying, sorry, you guys, you got to go. This is it. And for some reason, I did see a lot of negative in that, where people weren't saying what's better for the town. And even boondocking, when we're boondocking right now. I'm not taking any physical risks, because if I injured myself, if I broke a leg, the amount of emergency resources that would be taken away from whatever they're dealing with to deal with me out here in a boondocking spot isn't fair to the community that I don't really necessarily pay taxes to live in. I'm a guest, I'm a visitor.
Yeah.
And that's the mindset that we as full-timers need to have, is that we're a guest, we're a visitor, and for some reason they don't sometimes. A lot do. Oh, don't get me wrong. A lot do. A lot get the mentality that we are guests, we are visitors, we need to act so.
Right. Absolutely. And, let's try to keep with the mindset of helping out, doing the right thing for certainly not just ourselves, but everybody. It's good to think that way.
Yeah. We is greater than me.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
It is.
No matter how you look at it.
Demian Ross, we really do appreciate your time today. Demian Ross from Rootless Living. Tell the folks where they can find you.
Yeah, you can go to rootlessliving.com. Probably one of our big socials is Instagram, which is Rootless Living Mag. All the other socials are just Rootless Living if you want to find us on Facebook or Twitter or something like that. And again, you get a free digital subscription. You can check it out. There's no credit card or anything like that. It's just first name and email. And I will never spam or give out your emails. You'll only get maybe 6 emails for sure for the issues, and maybe a couple others when things happen, like a pandemic and how to deal with it in and around traveling full time. Other than that, you won't even get one a month from me. So
there you go.
Good.
So
yeah.
No fuss, no frills, and all that good stuff. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing to know, and I would highly recommend checking it out. Demian Ross from Rootless Living. Stay safe, stay well, and we do appreciate your time. Thank you, Demian.
You bet. Thanks, Tom.
This is the RV Advisor Podcast. I'm Tom Alexander, and we'll see you next time. So long, everybody.